Well, let's do this then.
Perfect. Reggie, it's Ryan Rucco and CC Sabathia. How are you, man?
Oh, God. How you guys doing? Long time no hear or see. How's everyone doing?
Good. Appreciate you doing this for us.
Oh, come on, CC. You know, we go back. Come on now.
So, see, all right. I didn't even know you and Reggie have a little history there. Nice, man.
Yeah, no, it's good to have him on the pod. It's if you grew up if you're my age and from my era, like you grew up in the 90s, this is like a god watching, basketball. So having Reggie Miller on the podcast is huge for me, being a 90s basketball fan. So thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on here with both of you guys. I have followed both of your guys' career. CC, you were one of my favorites when you were with Milwaukee. And then I hated you a little bit when you went to the Knicks, but I'll forgive you for that. But look, I respect both of you guys so much. It's an honor to be on here, and I'm excited.
Well, Reggie, we appreciate it, man. Just first things first, Selection Sunday, obviously always massive day. Bracket comes out, and it always creates this very unique event for a sports fan. Was there anything to you that stood out immediately looking at the bracket that really caught your attention?
I'm a little close to the situation, so pardon my bias a little bit. But I'm surprised that my Bruins didn't get a number one seed. Now, Alabama, Houston, Purdue, and Kansas, I get it, sort of, kind of, but UCLA and how they had played, and I know 2 of their 5 losses have come against Arizona, who's also a number 2 seed. I was just a little surprised, the job that Nick Cronin has done at UCLA. I was a little surprised they didn't get a number 1 seed. But again, we don't know what goes on in the war room. These seeds, and this is a fun time of year, 1 through 68, because you really don't know. There's no clear-cut favorite as there has been in years past, where you're like, oh, Duke, oh, North Carolina, oh, UCLA, Kansas. There's none of that. And with everyone playing on quote, quote, neutral courts, anything is possible. So that's the beauty and the magic of March Madness.
So who would you want them to overtake the number 1 seed from? So would it be Houston, Purdue, Kansas, or Alabama?
Alabama and Houston, in my opinion, definitely number 1s. Kansas, because of their quad ones, yes. Purdue, again, me being an adopted Hoosier, I don't want all my Boilermakers sending me emails or tweets. I love you guys, but I just think UCLA should have been that number 1 instead of Purdue.
Reggie, what do you like most about this UCLA team this season? Obviously, there's a lot, despite not getting that number 1 seed, there's a lot of buzz, a lot of hype around this year's Bruins team.
Well, number 1, they play at both ends of the floor. Mm-hmm. And if you know anything about Coach Cronin, you know that he is a stickler for defending, and they really get after you. They lost one of their best defenders to an Achilles injury, so that's going to hurt them a little bit. But, Jaime Jaquez, the way that he's been able to really have the rest of his guys kind of, I would say, load up and get ready to get after it, basically. The Bruins, and I'm looking at their draw. They start with UNC Asheville, and then they get the winner of Boise State Northwestern, which is check. What I'm looking forward to is I'm hoping Gonzaga comes out of that, and then we get another chance at Gonzaga. That's kind of, you break these down into little compartments, and you don't worry about certain things. You worry about things that you can control. And I'm just looking at their draw, and I just think it's very favorable out west.
Nice.
Hey, you got a lot of Northwestern alums in this business that are upset with you saying check on that, Reggie. Not on this podcast, but in this business.
Boise State now.
That's right.
Don't worry about the Bruins. Y'all worry about Boise State.
Fair enough. Reggie, how about Duke? They feel like they're in an interesting place as far as this particular season, this particular tournament, not just because obviously no Coach K for the first time in forever, but because they're a 5 seed. But at the end of the season, they felt like they were playing like a 1 seed with the way they finished things out. How do you kind of look at Duke and their chances this March?
This is a head scratcher because you look at how they played over the last month and a half, almost 2 months. They are not a 5 seed. Look, they started the season off with a lot of injuries, okay? And once they got everyone piece by piece healthy again, they went down the stretch 17-1. This is not a 5 seed. So, and here's the thing. The scary thing about it, if you guys know anything about this tournament, and you'll kind of attest to this, there's always that 5-12 matchup that's always an upset, right? It's not going to be in this case with Duke, okay? Because they are not a 5 seed. It's unfortunate that they are, but they're playing the best basketball, I would say, out of anyone, and that's including Houston and Alabama. So a scary, scary team at number 5.
And see, I got a little Duke bias too because Kyle Filipowski and Derek Whitehead were 2 kids that my son, I have a freshman at Georgia Tech. He plays baseball, but he was a basketball kid. He played AAU basketball, and those 2 played on his AAU team from, I think, 3rd grade all the way to 9th grade. So those 2 being on that team have made me like a Duke fan. So I've been watching them a lot, and you're right. They started off the year pretty hurt. They got their pieces back. Derek Lively showed up, protecting the rim late in the season, and they're a real threat to win this thing, especially being so young, man. You just never know what team is going to show up. I mean, if Kyle comes out and has a great game, if Derek's scoring, if Derek's protecting the rim, they're pretty tough to beat.
And let me say this too, because early on in the year, Derek Lively was taking a lot of abuse, being the overall number 1 pick. Wasn't living up to those, expectations and standards. And just look what he's done over the last month, along with all the other guys you mentioned. And that's the thing, there's no longer any patience today. These kids, from the AAU generation, there's so much hype on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. They have huge followings and people just expect them to come in and be Kevin Durant and Stephen Curry and play at those expectations. And it takes time. And it took this young man some time to get used to college basketball. And now that he's found his footing and Duke has found their footing and they've become healthy, they could not shoot the basketball at all the first 10 to 15 ball games. Mm-hmm. But you look at them now, they have turned things around. And I'm just saying, they are a scary 5 seed. They're not one of those 12-5 upsets, people. Now watch. Don't do me wrong now, Duke. I'm you guys on this. Don't do me wrong, Dookie. Don't do me wrong.
Reggie, you're one of the rare guys who dives heavy into both college and the NBA. And obviously, we know you're not calling games in the tournament this year, but clearly you follow college basketball very closely, and we know obviously you're TNT's lead analyst for the NBA. I'm wondering, and I always think this is interesting for people who are NBA fans, but then get into the tournament. Is there a guy or 2 or 3 in particular that you will be watching more closely than others when it comes to this tournament and projecting ahead, thinking about their NBA careers? Is there a guy or 2 who you really, really like what kind of pro they're going to be?
Well, I hate to keep it somewhat in the family, but I'm going to say it's Miller time. Brandon Miller from Alabama.
Yeah.
And if you follow the story, there's, I wouldn't say a black cloud hovering around Alabama, but there's a lot of circumstances going on that he's involved with, right? And if you watched when everything transpired and he came back to play, and he was on the road somewhere. I can't remember the game. And the opposing fans were letting him have it, the lock him up chant. And I mean, he goes out and has a career high 40, because I wanted to see how he was going to react to all the negative criticism that, hey, look, and CC, you know this, it goes along with the business. And again, I don't know all the particulars to the case. I'm sure everything will come out eventually, because it always does. But I wanted to see mentally how he was going to approach the negativity that's going to be coming his way. And for the most part, he has leaps and bounds surprised me, because he's mentally strong, especially to be a freshman in this particular case. So look, Alabama, they have the overall #1 seed. A freshman leads them. He's mentally strong. That's going to be one player and one team that I'm kind of like focusing on, because you could, I like to see, well, how does his game translate to the next level? At 6'8", 6'9", he can handle the basketball. He can shoot. He can finish in traffic. He rebounds. He plays great defense because he's long and athletic. So I like to see what kind of, those kind of guys, if their game can translate to the next level.
Hey, Reggie, one thing we were just realizing, and you see the three, obviously. We know, we've seen it in the NBA game for years now, the way it just absolutely dominates the landscape of the NBA. And we want to ask you a few NBA questions in a moment, but we also see now colleges, they're always a little behind on it, but now they also understand the value of 3 versus 2 and college teams shooting more and more threes. And we realize you only had the 3 your last year at UCLA, right?
Yes. It came in my senior year. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Crazy. I mean, how did you mentally adapt to that, not having it throughout your career at UCLA, then having it that last year, and then obviously becoming prolific at it within the climate that existed at the time in the NBA?
I made it real simple, and I figured this out, I'd probably say my freshman to sophomore year in high school. I said to myself, I'm going to make sure the defense has to guard me as soon as I cross half court. This was before a three-point line. So if I had unlimited range as soon as I crossed half court, I didn't care if there was a three-point line or not, because they're going to have to guard me, 35, 40 feet out. So I had always adopted that. And then once the three-point line came in, I was like, oh, this is like a free throw, because I've been shooting this far out for so long and for so many years, it didn't really matter. So that's why I made it simple. And was I happy to see a 19.9 three-point line? I mean, that was a give me. It got a little bit more challenging, obviously, in the pros when you move up to 23.5 and 22 up top. But I was ready for it at an early age.
Did the coaches adapt pretty quick, or were they upset about you shooting threes in college that senior year?
Well, back in the late 80s and 90s, it was, as you know, CC, you played through your big men. You played through Patrick Ewing and Rick Smith and Akeem Olajuwon. So you played inside out. In today's game, you play outside, and I'm not even quite sure there are.
It's no end.
Big men, yeah. But look at our big men. Back-to-back MVP Nikola Jokic, yeah, he's a center, but he's a center who knocks down threes. He's averaging a triple-double with 10 assists.
Yeah.
So our bigs in today's game are not like the Patrick Ewings and the Hakeem Olajuwons and
I even look at like Brook Lopez. He started off as one of those type of guys, and now he's a stretch, like he's shooting threes too.
His first 3 years, I think I looked this up, he shot like 63s in his first 3 or 4 years. The dude has shot over 600 threes over the last 4 years. It just shows you it's just how the game has evolved. And bigs have stretched out, and a lot of this has to do with the international players. So Dirk was huge in evolving the stretch 4 and 5 with his ability to shoot threes.
Reggie, it's amazing. I think in your career you averaged 4.7 3-point attempts per game in your NBA career.
Crazy.
I mean, you would be averaging 12 to 14
I was about to say 14.
threes a game,
Yeah,
in this climate. Which one of the guys who does, Klay Thompson, he recently, I don't know if anyone's brought this quote up to you yet, but we wanted to because we just thought it was so great. He was recently talking about his competitive fire. And he said, my style resembles that of Reggie Miller. I call myself the modern day Reggie. And I mean, Reggie got into so many scraps. He got under so many people's skin. I really love Kobe and Reggie at the 2-guard spot. They left it all out there, man. What do you think about Klay comparing himself to you and saying, hey, I'm the modern day Reggie?
Honored. Absolutely honored. You hope, and CC can attest to this, I'm sure there's so many young players coming up watching the great career of CC and hoping and wishing that they could have a slither of what he did on the field. Now, to me, Klay has far surpassed whatever I did with winning 4 NBA championships and evolving the game. You hope you always leave it in a better place so that the younger generation not only admires what you did, but takes it up a notch. And absolutely, Klay, Stephen, Damian, Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton, those guys have taken it to a different level. And it's good that you have footprints, but these guys have just, what they've done involving the 3-point shot and how they evolved it and how it's so much a big integral part of our game today. It makes you feel good. It really does. Now, do I curse Saul and Carrie Miller, my parents, all the time because they had me in 1965? I wish I could be played in today's game. Yes, but it's good that I left footprints that these younger players can build upon and take it to another level.
Yeah, Reggie Miller in 2023 is averaging 28 a game and making $45 million a year. We know that.
Damn you, Solid Carey! Damn you!
Reggie, some of the amazing personality we see here on R2C2 with you, we get to see in the Wendy's ads that you do, and we're going to be seeing throughout March. I know it's your 4th year as a part of this partnership with Wendy's. Just what can you tell us about being a part of the Wendy's team?
Well, number one, first, honored that Wendy's continues to have me back. But I always tell people, when people come up to me and say, oh, man, those commercials are so funny, and you guys just have me on the floor laughing. And I was like, thank you, but I always have to give credit to the actors that I work with. These men and women, they are unbelievable comedians. And if you don't mind, I love saying that Chris Kleckner, Bill O'Neill, Catherine Feeney, and Willie Earl Jr., those 4 have been with me for the 3 years of these commercials, and Catherine and I have done all 4 of them together. And the beauty of Wendy's is they come in with a basic script with kind of the outline of how they want the commercials to go. And they give us such a long leash once we look at it, review it, and they know everyone's talents and timings and comedic deliveries. They kind of let us ad-lib a lot of it, and they throw out lines and how to say certain things, but they give these amazing actors and comedians a real long leash and license for us to kind of, evolve the Wendy's, brand and idea. And it is, we are literally trying to stay in character, but we're laughing so hard at one another because we just go there. But I'm honored because, I'm just a idiot athlete, and these guys are serious actors and comedians, and they just open their doors. And Wendy's has been so fantastic of just kind of just letting us not necessarily do what we want, but listening to our ideas and just having a good time about it. So I like the twist on, we all remember, as a kid, Where's the Beef? We all remember that iconic ad. And now that we've kind of spun it a little bit with Square's the Beef, and they allowed me to give that signature line. I'm very honored.
Oh,
no,
Reggie,
that's super cool.
We enjoy watching them, man. They're terrific. We're looking forward to checking out your Wendy's commercial throughout this March, and we appreciate you giving us time here today. And hopefully we can do it again sometime soon. But enjoy the tournament. I'm sure it will be fun for you to take it in as a spectator with how much you've had to work it in recent years. That's going to be a well-earned viewing experience for you.
Yes, because when you're working it, you've got to be objective, fair and balanced. And you're not, even though you're rooting for UCLA, you can't really show it. Well, now that I'm not working it, I'm going to be a homer, people. I'm going to have my blue and gold on, and yes, it's all about the Bruins.
Man, we love it. Stay safe out there on the mountain bike races too. I got to get out there with you.
Come on, CC. I got a bike with your name all over it, man.
Let's do it.
We can slay the mountains.
I'm coming.
CC. Come on, baby.
Make sure Wendy's got a Big Bacon Classic at the finish line too, so I'm good.
We'll have Wendy's at the end. Wendy's breakfast. Oh, to die for. To die for.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Reggie. Enjoy the March Madness, man.
Appreciate you too. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Reggie.
Thank you.